Hey, my good friends, it's me, Chuck of Chuck's Captivating Chat here on Monday, September 30th, 2024. My God, the year is going by way too fast. And I'm also thinking about the fact that it's only 36 days to the election. And I mentioned last week, hey, Ward, welcome back. Welcome back from being away. It's good to see you on here. I really appreciate it a lot. Um, yeah, the election is coming up. I mentioned last week. Figured, what the hell? I talk about my politics when I do Dr. Whimsy Anderson's show, Taco Tuesdays on Tuesdays, same place, same time. Well, I shouldn't say same place. It's the Oracle of Whimsy channel, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we get into all kinds of politics there, so it's no secret. Mentioned last week, I'm always reluctant to do that on my own channel because I've always wanted to keep this more neutral, keep this more about just fun. Hi, Wendy. Keep this about fun things like old Hollywood, Lucy stories, that type of thing. I've always subscribed to the notion of what Dolly Parton said about how she said, well, darling, of course I have my political opinions, but I keep them to myself, meaning she didn't want to alienate something like half of her audience, with the nation divided almost down the middle, the way it seems. That's what it amounts to. So I've always been careful, but I like to talk about my life. So yes, I said, yes, I've been volunteering for the Democratic Party. First time I've ever been involved as a volunteer like this. I've always been good about voting, but this election just means too much to me. But I also said last week, please, by all means, whomever you support, it's just get out, volunteer, do an effort that feels right because it's good for your heart. It's good for your soul. I think it's good when we put our energy out into the world and do good. But I bring it up now because I showed this last week, my portrait of Kamala Harris, obviously. And I mentioned, that I wanted to make this available, for fundraising of some kind. Like here in Los Angeles, where I live, New York, Chicago, they have these big ticket fundraising events. I think there was one just the other night. Cheapest tickets were $500. They went up to $10,000. Yes, a little too rich for my blood, but I was hoping maybe they were having silent auctions. Yeah, and I thought, well, piece of art, I would happily donate. I would frame it, make it available. In fact, it was Dr. Whimsy who suggested that to me, and I showed this on her show a couple of weeks ago. Make it available for fundraising. And I even thought, well, hey, I'm willing to do even more than one. So something I never do is duplicate my own work. So you can see I've got another one here in works. I'm going to make some subtle little changes like to the background and stuff. So each piece will be original in its own right. And frankly, I'd even do a third or a fourth if I thought it would raise money for the campaign. Well, I didn't think it was going to be that complicated, especially, I have legitimate art here and I'm doing something that I think is generous and helpful to the campaign. So I started making phone calls. I went online. I looked for like the Democratic headquarters here in Los Angeles, Pasadena, West Hollywood. And then I even went to Sacramento. Called Sacramento, just talking to anyone I can. Can you give me a lead? Can you give me a connection? Who can I email, call? Nobody has returned my phone calls. Nobody has returned my emails. And I've sent out a lot. It's getting really frustrating right now. I've even made trips to like the headquarters in Pasadena, West Hollywood, tried to see someone in person. And even there, people don't know what to tell me. I'm just open to ideas. I want to get it out there. There's only 36 days left until election day, and I want to make a difference. I want to do my part. And I thought this was something I could give of myself from my heart. I put a lot of love into my art. I put a lot of my energy, a lot of my soul, and I was even focusing on this energy going out to help the campaign. Hope I'm not alienating people there talking about my politics, but I deeply, deeply admire this lady, and I've admired her a long time. Being a Californian, she was our attorney general and she was our senator, and I still remember, because I'm very, very intuitive. It was 2016 when she was running for the Senate, and here on local television here in LA, uh, they televised a debate. Kamala Harris and her opponent, I think it was Loretta Sanchez, and I frankly didn't know who Kamala was, but I sure knew within a few minutes she was stunning. Basically, the Kamala you saw at the debate recently with Trump, that was the Kamala I saw back in 2016 when almost nobody knew who she was. And frankly, she decimated her opponent. Poor Loretta Sanchez didn't even know what had hit her. This cyclone, this prosecutor from San Francisco. Oh my God, just such a brilliant mind, so talented, so charismatic. And I got chills. I had this gut feeling. Now, I admit I didn't know it was going to be as far as the vice presidency and possibly the presidency, but I said that woman is going to be a major, major political star on the national scene. Major. There was just no question in my mind. And to see such a meteoric rise in such a short time, and honestly, I'm proud of myself for intuitively knowing this about her. I feel like from the ground up before a lot of people ever knew. And honestly, if I had a way of getting one of these two Kamala herself, I wish I could do it. I was at an event Saturday night. I'll talk about it in a moment. Where I met someone, I talked of my plight and said, "Oh, I know someone who's on the fundraising committee. Let me give you her email and tell her that you were recommended by me." So I did that. I sent that. I haven't heard yet, but I mentioned to the person, "Hey, Whimsy, glad you're here. I was just talking about you." But yeah, I was just saying, I would love to get one of these two Kamala Harris. And the person said, "Oh, that's impossible. You can't do that." I said, "Nothing's impossible. Don't tell me that." No, I don't. I don't buy into that kind of thinking. I'm putting it out there to the universe. I've done this before. I put it out to the universe. I wanted to meet Carol Burnett. Did that. It happened 3 times. So it's going to happen. But anyway, that's what's going on in my life right now. And I mentioned last week, I even wrote postcards. They told me at the headquarters that that's one of the most effective ways to reach people are handwritten personal postcards. The fact that somebody would take the time to write something out. So if you go to your campaign headquarters, I'm assuming this is true for others, they'll give you a packet. In my case, it was 25 cards. There was a list of addresses of undecided, unregistered voters, and there was a script to follow. They wanted us to adhere to that, but just write it in our own handwriting. And I chose the state of Florida for mine. Now I'm wondering if, considering what has happened back there, if my cards even made it there, or will, or make it on time. But I guess there are much worse things going on, people to be concerned with than some postcards. The hurricane was just devastating. My hometown of Narrows, Virginia, in the southwestern part of Virginia, not West Virginia, southwestern Virginia. I always have to clarify that. The hurricane just cut a path, right through Georgia, North Carolina, worked its way up through Kentucky and through anyway, my hometown was in the path of that. And my hometown is, it's divided in half. There's a river that goes through my town called the New River, and it's fairly large. And there's a big bridge that connects the two halves of the town. And on Saturday, I started getting messages from Facebook friends, sending me photographs, sending me videos. I was just horrified. I was heartbroken to see my town underwater. I mean, the streets just like a foot, 2 feet of water. The bridge is very high, and the water from the river was almost up touching the top of the bridge. I've never seen that in my life. Certainly in all my years growing up. I know my mother and father spoke of a flood that happened back in I think it was around 1955 or so. And at the time, they were living in a section of town that got seriously flooded. It was so bad. My mother and father said their basement was completely flooded. They knew of another home. It was a 2-story home. The entire first floor of the home was flooded. And to get out, they had to use rowboats. And certainly in all my years growing up in that town, I never saw anything like that again. But this sounds rather similar to that flood. It's happened again. And I just bring it up. My heart goes out to people there, my prayers. I had an event that I went to on Saturday I'm going to tell you guys about, but I almost felt frivolous and like it would be insensitive to do a posting on Facebook about it and have my friends back there see that, me lollygagging in Hollywood while they're frankly suffering. I understand power lines are out. Parts of the town are told they won't have electricity again until Friday. So for that reason, I held off from doing my posting. I'm just looking at some things here. Ward, you said Interstate 40 got cut off at the North Carolina-Tennessee border. I'm not surprised by that. Let's see here. Oh yes, some comments for Whimsy here. I'm so happy to have you here, Whimsy. I gave you a nice plug at the beginning of the show about what we're doing tomorrow. It's, Whimsy is the reason I'm even doing this. She's the one who got me into this wonderful world of YouTube. And it's the honor of my life to do Taco Tuesdays with her every Tuesday. We have fun. She's basically Johnny Carson, and I play Ed McMahon to her, play her sidekick. And we get into some fun discussions. And it's a lot like when we used to work together. When we used to get chided by our boss for talking too much. Now we can talk all we want. Right, Whimsy? So anyway, what I did Saturday. This is one of those things I call only when you live in Hollywood, only when you live in LA. I even joked with my sister. We both grew up in Narrows, Virginia, and she's gone on and done her own big thing. She lives in Colorado, but she's traveled the world. She's been to literally every continent of the planet. And I mean every continent, including Antarctica. So we both sometimes will say, I can't believe that I came from Narrows, Virginia. When I mentioned like a big celebrity I met or something like that, or a Hollywood event I attended. But let's see. Throw cards on the disaster. Maybe I could do that if I have my cards handy here. I don't know. I wasn't planning to do that, Whimsy, but maybe I can. Let's see. What was I saying? Yeah, I was. Oh God, I lost my train of thought there. I was talking about things that only you can do here in LA. My neighbor that I cat sit for, and I don't think she'd mind me saying this publicly. She's Nancy Sinatra's daughter, obviously Frank Sinatra's granddaughter. She's my neighbor, about a 5-minute walk from where I live, and I cat sit for her sometimes. She has 4 of the most adorable cats. I mean, I am in love with those cats. Frankly, they're sweeter than my cat, Sasha. She's got one cat named Dixie, this black cat. Oh my God, I just want to steal her and take her home. And my joke is I sit for Frank Sinatra's grandcats. But anyway, AJ has always been very discreet about this. That's why I said I think it's okay to talk about this now. But she's always been very discreet about her lineage. She likes to live a very yes, AJ. She likes to live a very low-key private life, and I try to be very respectful of that. But she decided to do an evening singing the songs of her grandfather. So she more or less came out. So we say out of the closet a little bit. Hey, this is who I am. I'm Frank Sinatra's granddaughter. I'm Nancy's daughter. And it was at a tiny little venue, not far from where I live. And so we charged $15, which I can tell you in Los Angeles, that is ridiculously reasonable and cheap for a ticket to anything. You can't even go to a movie for that cheap here in LA. So it was just a simple little thing. Her and she had a wonderful pianist, and she did almost 2 hours of songs that her father made famous. Most of the songs from Frank Sinatra's album, Only the Lonely. And oh my God, what a talent. What a talent. Gorgeous, gorgeous voice. And, while she doesn't quite sing like her grandfather, she has her own unique style. And at times she even reminded me a bit of Barbra Streisand. That's how good she is. And I thought, oh, the Sinatra DNA very much lives in her. Oh, I was just thrilled. I felt honored to be there. And I sat in the front row, so I was very close to her while she was performing. Beautiful, beautiful night. She's a dear, sweet woman. And, I've mentioned, you should sing in larger venues. You should record a full album. And she said, oh, but these are albums. Or my grandfather did them. No, I said, I meant you. You should sing them. And she mentioned that she's got a 4-song EP on iTunes. Let's see. I'm gonna give her a plug here because she deserves it. Just one second. I'm ashamed to say I can't remember what the name of it is, but I can look it on my phone here because I downloaded it. It's called Lonely Songs, and it's only 4 songs, but they're all Sinatra songs like Lush Life, Willow Weep for Me, Only the Lonely, It's a Lonesome Old Town. Highly recommended. It's only $4, and you can hear a lot of her grandfather. It's kind of like what Frank would have sounded like as a woman. See what you think. So I just wanted to plug her there. And it was such an enchanting evening. And I haven't even been looking at my comments here. This is still like patting my head and rubbing my stomach, trying to look forward to the camera and talk and glance over at comments. I should be much better at this now. Whimsy should probably say that. Let's see. Oh, hi, Pam. Thank you for joining. My dear, dear friend, Pam. Oh God, I had so much fun. We talked almost 4 hours last night. I mean, Pam is one of my dearest friends. And I almost hate to say the word virtual because we're so close, but she lives way up in Canada. I'm here in LA. We've never physically met, but yet we FaceTime, we talk. It's like we're in the same room with each other all the time. And she's just one of the closest, dearest people in my life. And we're going to collaborate on some projects. We've got something in the works. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it is to help Kamala Harris because we're both very passionate about that. Great grand cats. Yeah, war. That might be a way of putting it, but I've always thought Sinatra's grandcats, Let's see. Oh, Pam, you have cold rain today. I wish we had it here. The thing about LA, I like cold weather. I like rain. And every time it seems like it's going to cool off here, we get wham, another 90-degree heat wave. So, and because I've lived here so many years, I know this is going to go on until probably at least mid-October. I mentioned 1 year it went well into November and well into December, such as that I mentioned the picnic I had at a friend's place. We had to take the turkey and everything outside and sit at a picnic bench because it was too hot. And then like 3 weeks later, I was decorating my Christmas tree, and there was all this Christmas music playing on television and commercials. And I'm there with 3 fans blowing, a tank top, trying to hang ornaments on a tree. And I'm dripping sweat on the ornaments because it's so hot. The foibles of living in LA. Pam, we are 6,000 miles apart. I didn't quite grasp it was that much. Wow. Wow. And Pam, it always feels like when we talk, we're just in the room together. It's like you're 6 inches away, not 6,000 miles. Ward, I didn't see you were hurt. Let me see here. I missed something here in the comments. Ward, what happened to you? I'm looking here. I don't see anything. It's where so intense. Are you safe and sound? Your accident. Oh, Ward, I'm so sorry. Whatever happened to you? I do hope you'll be okay. Whimsy, love my friends in LA, but not the hot weather. Oh my God, when you came out here, Whimsy, last summer, and my air conditioning wasn't working in my car. Oh, that was not good for us, was it? Ward, stupid flagstone, not too far from my hotel. Oh no. I know what you mean. I've had things like that happen. We sometimes have, because of earthquakes and fault lines, and also tree roots sometimes grow underneath sidewalks, and sometimes they'll raise up a little bit or something. I've had that happen to me where I have just looking straight ahead, walking or something, and tripped and fell. And there was one time I was running late for an appointment. I was getting my hair cut or something, and I had my iPad with me in a case, had my iPad under my arm, and I tripped one of those cracks in the sidewalk and just flew right forward. iPad flew out of my hand, smashed down onto the sidewalk. Despite the case, the whole glass screen cracked into pieces, and I was heart sick about that because I had taken such good care of it. And to come up with a bad pun there, those are the breaks. But yeah, I know how it's like when things like that happen. I don't know, Ward, if you felt this way, but it's like almost like slow motion when you're falling forward. And instinctively, I find for me, I always want to put my arm out or my hand to break my fall. And of course, that's how you often end up breaking your arm or your hand or something else. So far, I haven't broken a bone in my body all my years on this earth, but don't want there to be a first. But anyway, Ward, I hope you're okay. Let's see. I'll be fine after wearing a lunar ski boot. Oh no, you have to wear the boot for 6 weeks. I am truly sorry. I had a friend had to wear one of those boots. Only in his case, it was ankle surgery, but he had to wear that thing. And it was an interesting story. Again, only in Hollywood. I had to drive him to his doctor's, and we were sitting outside, and this car pulled up, the window rolled down, and there was this woman inside saying, "What happened to your ankle? Are you okay?" And we realized it was Cloris Leachman. It was Cloris Leachman. She stopped. She was a thoughtful lady. I met her on numerous times. That's who she was. She cared about people. And she actually pulled up to say, "Are you okay? What happened to your ankle?" So anyway, I just thought of that, and I remembered I took him in to the doctor's office. There must have been like 12 people in there, every person wearing the same boot. It was almost like a chorus line of those ski boots as you described them. So I hope you're not in pain and you heal well. Let's see. Oh, you didn't fall. You just kicked it too hard. Well, just the same. I understand what that's like also. I don't drink, and when I do, every 5 to 10 years, I remember why I don't. It makes me so sick. You're reminding me of, here's my personal business. When I was in college, 19 years old, and I was at a party in the dorm, and I stupidly, and I mean stupidly, only a stupid 19-year-old would drink 8 gin and tonics. I was so violently ill, and I mean for like days. That's serious poison you're putting in your body. I did not want to drink again for a long time. I just had too much of a bad sense memory associated with it, and maybe that was even a blessing for me. But you're also reminding me of my sister. She, speaking of drinking and falling, not to put it that way, but she went to a wine tasting event where she lives in Colorado. And by my sister's own admission, she had partaken in a little too much. And a similar thing, a rocky driveway, and she tripped, fell, hit right on her cheekbone. I mean, bad gash. She was okay, but I mean, thank God it could have been her eye. So I'm glad she was all right. Uh, Whimsy, yes. We drank and reviewed Barbie the only way. Oh, that's funny. This was when Whimsy was out here visiting. We had Korean barbecue and then went to see the Barbie movie. Barbecue and Barbie. That was fun. That was fun. And we were able to justify it as a business expense because we reviewed it on the show. So it was, I guess that counted as research, but we had a lot of fun doing that. And Warren, and I know you were sober too. I didn't mean to imply you were drinking or anything, but anyway, I hope you're okay. It says Wendy said I had to wear the Frankenstein boot twice. Oh my God. Heel spurs. Oh my God. Sawed off. Oh my God. I had heel spurs once. Oh, those things hurt. It's like having a thumbtack. Literally, it's like stepping on a thumbtack when you walk. And in my case, it had a lot to do because I had flat feet, and I had to have arches made. And once I did that, I was doing. I remember I was doing magnesium and B6 to help break up and dissolve the spurs, and it worked. That and just having the arches to take the pressure off my heels. But there was a period where I was in bad shape. I was really hobbling around because of them. They're just awful. Let's see here. Yeah, Whimsy, you got hot and overheated. Oh, I will never forget that. Well, I do have air conditioning working in my car now. If you're ever here again. Pomona, you said I slipped in the ice when I was 8 months. Oh my God, you were 8 months pregnant? Oh my God. And I know that wasn't an easy pregnancy for you anyway. I did not know you slipped and fell. Oh, thank God you were both okay. So sorry. Feel like I should be recommending Arnica Montanica to everybody here, right, Whimsy? Which is wonderful for addressing bruises. It's a homeopathic remedy. God, I feel like I'm doing a commercial here for. There's a company called Boron. You can get Arnica topical, like in a gel and ointment. You can get the pellets you put under your tongue. Does miracles for bruising. Also, bromelain, which is from pineapple, also works really well to address bruising. Really good after you've had surgery. Let's see. I'm getting some good comments here. I do this show as of late where I don't plan what I'm going to do because I find, first of all, I have all this stuff up in my head. There's always stuff to talk about, but I find sometimes just reading the comments, this is all I need here. Just answer what people are saying. Let's see. Be sure and like the stream. Yes, of course. Well, the Oracle Whimsy, please like and subscribe to her and to me, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. I'm probably preaching to the choir here because most of you already do, but it's always nice if someone hasn't watched the show, because I find when I do this live stream, I get a lot of people who watch the replay, and I get new people that way. The Whimsy vinegar compresses. Oh, Whimsy, we could just do a whole show on this. Ward, do I recall Sonia Henning? Well, obviously before my time, like most of these old movie stars, but yes, I'm very familiar with Sonia Henning. The big joke was, I skate a little, okay? But, she was amazing. She was a gold medal winning Olympic skater. Much like Johnny Weissmuller, who played Tarzan in the movies. He was an Olympic swimming champion. She was an Olympic skater. And 20th Century Fox gave her a screen test and felt she had what it took. And she actually was one of the biggest box office draws of the 1930s. Kind of predated like what Esther Williams did with all those water ballet things, and her, it was all these beautiful choreographed skate routines. And as she got bigger in popularity, 20th Century Fox just kept making the budget went up for the movies, so they kept making more elaborate sets. And I remember there was this one beautiful black and white. They were all in black and white, of course, in those days. But they froze the ice. They put something in it to make it black. I think there was like black linoleum underneath the ice, but I think they also dyed the water too. So it was like a perfect black. And when she skated on that, it was so beautiful. She was dressed in white skates, and going across the black ice. It was lovely, very Art Deco. Let me see here. Oh my God, Whimsy. I just saw your comment here. I'm glad you brought it up instead of me, but yeah. Oh my God, that was unbelievable. I guess I can tell it here. We wanted to shoot some segments for Taco Tuesday, location things, Hollywood sites. And one of the places we went to was Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Yeah, I know where everybody's buried, but I mean, that's a cemetery many luminous Hollywood stars are, like Judy Garland, Rudolph Valentino, Mickey Rooney is there, just hundreds big names. Judy Garland is like the marquee draw. Even in death, she's still a big draw. They actually, her family, this was done with the blessing of the family. They were never happy with the fact that she had been interred in a mausoleum near New York City. They always felt she should have been out here in LA, like Liza, Lorna, Joey, her children, the grandchildren. They wanted to be able to visit her here. So an arrangement was made with Hollywood Forever Cemetery. They agreed to build a mausoleum, the Judy Garland Pavilion, just for Judy. And it's so beautiful, all marble, and they even made the little gates of the gate look like the entrance to the Emerald City. It's very worthy of her. And the family had her remains flown out here to be reinterred, I think about 5 years ago. And ironically, Lucille Ball and her mother, well, they were both cremated, but nonetheless, they were interred in a mausoleum, Forest Lawn, in Burbank. And Desi Arnaz had the idea of flying their remains back to Jamestown, New York, Lucille Ball's hometown, and putting the whole family together and doing a beautiful headstone and everything for the whole Ball family, which was nice. So it's ironic. Both those women made one last big trip across the country, Judy going west, Lucy going east. But anyway, Whimsy and I, sorry, went off on a tangent here, didn't I? Whimsy and I were shooting some segments. And Whimsy, you had your bag with you, with all your camera equipment and everything. And fortunately, in there was your ID and your passport. And you had a big trip to Europe planned in 2 or 3 weeks. And there was your passport. And we never could find it. We didn't know what had happened. If we put it in a trash can by mistake or something. We scoured that cemetery. I later drove back. I scoured it again. We just couldn't find it, and it was horrible. And I think we had to do our live stream that day, and we had to go on at 5:00. Like, oh, we were just all happy and perky, and everything was okay. Oh, but Whimsy, my heart just went out to you. But I'm glad everything worked out, and it's okay now. But that was not one of the better times, was it? Wendy, you were saying, now I have spurs all over my body, spine. Oh dear, your mother. I'm so very, very sorry. Dr. Whimsy is an incredible naturopath doctor. I book her appointments for her. I'm her assistant. Send me a message if you're interested. I think maybe, Whimsy, you might be able to help her. Maybe some suggestions. I don't know. Well, I just wanted to throw that out. Whimsy said, then I sobered up and we did a great show. Well, it's ironic you say that, because when we did that show, first of all, I'm always sober when I do my shows, but that day, for whatever reason, I had a wine cooler with me. And I think maybe if you sober up a little, I just might have been a little bit inebriated when we did the show, but we had a good show. We were laughing and jolly and had great chemistry, and the audience seemed to really love us. Yeah, Dr. Whimsy is a fun date. She's one of my favorite people in the world. Love Whimsy. We go back a number of years. Used to work together, and she's been an angel and a great mentor to me. Wait. Oh, what Ann Southern said about making pain her friend. That's right. I remember now. Ann Southern did. I think she had rheumatoid arthritis, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Oh, dear lady. Very close friend of Lucy's. Let's see. We shot some film at the Hollywood Cemetery, but it was. Oh my! This is moving. Trying to read it. I lost my place. Oh God! Let me find the place here again. Tossed it in the trash. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. Nah, it's okay, Whimsy. I love you. We did, when you really love each other, sometimes you fight, sometimes you argue, you take things out, but it's because you love each other like family. That's the bottom line. You're safe with people, and I love you, Whimsy, and I know you love me, so it's okay. Oh, well, thank you for your compliment. Let's see. Pomp 67, I think, saying I'm very talented. Oh, you're very, very sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, and Whimsy, thank you for your compliment there. Oh, that's right. Ward, you said I nearly lost my airline tickets, was able to get reprints on the last trip. Yeah, that is one good thing. Usually everything is on computer. They can access things like that and get you copies. But yeah, that's pretty unnerving when you're about to take a trip and you lose things like that, especially now with all of the security and all the hoops you have to jump through now just to get on an airplane. I remember when I was a kid, flying on a plane was so much fun. In fact, that's how frigging old I am. I can remember when I was a kid where they actually served you like a real china and silverware, and you got a real glass, and they served you several courses. And I remember people would complain about airline food. I thought it was delicious. Now, as we all know, you're doing good if you get a tiny little 6-ounce can of Coke and a little itty bitty bag with maybe 3 pretzels in it. Or sometimes you don't get that even, Let's see. What else is on here? We decided to get stoned. I vaped and you drank. Yes. Oh, well, you guys are like family. We can talk about anything now, can't we? But yeah, Whimsy, I know you're upset, but all in all, you handled it well. And, you I don't remember what all we had to do now. I think I blocked it out because I was helping you. I was making phone calls for you, and we were trying to get you another ID and things. And you know how that works. You know how you get recordings, or you get directed to other places, and you get directed to other places, and then you get disconnected and all. But oh well, it was what it was. Oh my God! But so Aunt Southern had her back broken. Oh, poor thing. I was thinking rheumatoid arthritis, but she might have had that also, but I didn't know she'd broken her back. Oh, poor thing. I know she put on a lot of weight in her later years, and that might have been related to that. I don't know if you ever saw a movie. It was the very last thing she ever did. It was called The Whales of August. And it was made, I think, 1987, 88. It starred Betty Davis and Lillian Gish. And it was, I think, the last thing Lillian Gish ever did. And it was like the next to the last thing Betty Davis ever did, and the last thing for Ann Southern. And Ann Southern got her only Oscar nomination of her entire career for that. She was up for Best Supporting Actress. But it was a little surprising to see the amount of weight she had gained. And not that I'm judging that, but I'm just saying it was a little surprising to see that. And that makes sense, hearing she broke her back. Poor thing. marvelous actress and comedian. Uh, Mindy, me too. I'm so old. I don't think of myself as old, but oh my God. I don't. In my head, in my delusionment, in my magical thinking, I still think I'm 27. But what is a real eye opener is when you're having to fill out a form for something like a medical form or something, and they ask your age and you have to write it down, and you're like, that's not my age. That's not my age. That's how it hits me. And I have a joke about it. Remember that movie Somewhere in Time, where Christopher Reeve willed himself to travel back in time, and of course he falls in love with this beautiful actress played by Jane Seymour, and they have this great romance, and everything is great until he reaches in the pocket of the suit. He had gotten a vintage suit in modern times for his time travel. In the pocket was a penny with the date 1981. It startled him so much, shocked him so severely, that it hurled him back into present day. He was like, no, I want to go back to 1910. I want to go back to 1910. And he couldn't. Well, that's how I feel when I look at the date on my driver's license. It's like it hurls me into harsh reality, how old I really am. Let's see. Where's some other comments here? Oh, yeah, I get worried. I get worried having to go through the TSA, emptying everything and then recollecting everything. I do the same thing. I'm one of these people. It takes me forever to pack my bags and get everything organized, everything together, only to get there to have to dump all the stuff out. And then they practically make you strip naked. You have to take off your belt and your shoes. Any metal you have on your person and jewelry and stuff. And it's just it's so complex. And then because you've got a whole line of people and you don't want to hold up the line, you've got to hurry like mad to get all this stuff back in your bag and get your belt on and shoes and everything and get recollected. And I always worry that I'm going to leave something behind or lose something. And there was one time, it was one of those times where I had spent forever packing my bags and everything was careful. And they singled me out to be frisked. I guess they do that randomly or something, or there was something on me that set off a metal detector or the x-ray or something. And I had like 12 minutes to get to the gate to my flight, or I was going to miss it. And they made me empty everything out, everything. And then I had like no time. I had to practically throw wad everything in the bags and it was such a mess, and I had to run like mad, and I didn't know if I'd let something behind. Again, I miss the days we were kids when air travel used to be fun. Not anymore. But anyway, I understand that one worry. And the seats are tiny. I have a problem. I'm not abnormally large or tall, but I am 6'2", and I swear they make those seats for some of those plane seats are designed for no one bigger than 5'9". I remember I had one flight where my knees, it was like they were up to my chin. It was so bad I couldn't even put my table down. It's like my table was at a 45-degree angle, and this was like a 5-hour flight. It wasn't comfortable. We were shooting promos for the show, and we only had one day to get everything done. Oh my God! Yes. Whoa! And I even remember getting off to a bad start that day because I was really trying to be there at time to meet you at your hotel. My luck, I'm going down this little road in my neighborhood. There's a big garbage truck stops in the middle of the road to collect garbage for like 10 minutes, and there wasn't room to drive around. I had no way of backing up because there were cars behind me. I was sitting there stuck, and I was getting so upset because this was going to make me so late. And as I recall, Whimsy, you were not happy with me for being late, but that's what happened. And that day was like it had a jinx on it or something. But we did get some good footage. I will admit that. We did some shooting actually in the cemetery, and didn't we actually? I think we encountered some spirits there. We had flickering lights and things going on and signals. Um, Maybe that affected her a day. I don't know, but I mean, we went there. We were very respectful, and as you said, maybe next spring. Well, yeah, we'll plan it out a little better. Maybe we'll even plan ahead for calamities like this. Factor that into the day. Yes, on stage with a prop falling on it. What was that? Where you said, "Yep," on stage with a prop falling on it. Did I miss a comment earlier? I'm not sure. Anyway, well, maybe mention what you meant there. Wendy, thanks for reminding me. I have weed whimsy. Us blondes, we forget everything. Oh, this is an interesting show today. We're just admitting all of our stuff, aren't we? Let's see. Yeah, Warren, Miss Davis, and Lillian Gish. It's a rather sedate little film. I guess some would even call it an old lady film. Literally an old lady film, but it was really, because you and I, we share a love for the old Hollywood, and it was very exciting to see two great legends. Well, I mean, Ann Sothern also, but Betty Davis and Lillian Gish acting together. It wasn't quite dynamic like the last time Betty teamed with a big fellow legend, Joan Crawford, and they did Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, but more sedate. And I remember, again, this is aging me, the video store. Remember going to the video store to rent movies? I was in my video store, and some smartass took the Whales of August and put it in the action adventure section. Ha ha ha. Funny little joke there. But that was true. Wendy, my brain is 25, but my body is 105. Well, it varies from day to day for me, how I feel. So far, I'm hanging in there. I try to exercise, take care of myself, but I'm also mindful that the clock is ticking, the calendar is winding down. Let's see. Oh, it was as Morge said, my Nana used to say she was extremely late middle age in her 80s. That's good. I may use that. Pam, or when your children keep getting older, and that means I am too. I had a friend who talked about that. She was saying, she had a couple of grown sons, and she said, it's one thing that I have two sons with beards, but it's the fact they have gray beards and they're my children. It happens. It just happens. Yeah, 1981 is 43 years ago. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way I do. Years like that feel like yesterday. I have such vivid memories, and I sometimes catch myself talking like it just happened recently and not like 30, 40 years ago. Again, hard to accept. I'm old enough to talk about things 30, 40 years ago, Let's see what else I heard now that I get to, I got to get wheeled through on the way back from Oslo after my accident. Well, I guess that's one way of looking at it. Let's sit in the chair and let somebody take care of you and wheel you around. Do I want to go off on a tangent and tell a Hollywood story here? But it was, I guess I can tell it very quickly. Dick Van Dyke was doing a book signing a number of years ago, and a friend got me into the green room to see him privately, to meet him. And Rosemary, who of course was on the Dick Van Dyke Show with him, came to surprise him. And she was the friend of my friend. And so I was the one who took the handles and pushed Rosemary's wheelchair. And we got in the elevator, went up to the green room, and I was the one who knocked on the door for her. And Dick Van Dyke opened the door and was so happy to see Rosemary. And he was oblivious to the rest of us. And I don't know if that really ties in with a wheelchair story, if that was even appropriate. But I've just never forgotten that I pushed Rosemary's wheelchair. Ward, I got frisked after I had paid for my ticket in cash. Never again. What happened? You got frisked? Oh, I guess this was at the airport. At the airport, you got frisked? Yeah, I've been frisked so many times, but I actually request it because I don't like those big x-ray booths. Now, I mean, maybe they're safe, but I don't feel comfortable being exposed to all that radiation. Just having my whole body head to toe being irradiated. I would much rather have someone pat me down. It's like, oh, what the hell? Just grab anything you want. I don't care. I just want to get on my flight, and I don't want to be irradiated to death. So that's been my stance there. Oh, I do. God, I remember I was in Frankfurt, Germany. And usually, like here in the States, they're very respectful and very professional when they frisk you. That guy grabbed my crotch, just grabbed very deliberately. So I was like, okay, let me on my flight. So that happened to me. Yeah, we were treated like royalty back in the 70s and 80s, and we didn't even appreciate it. We took it for granted. Remember, it was like, would you like a pillow? Would you like a blanket? I have an assortment of magazines here for you. Would you like a cocktail? Would you care for a hot towel? Remember those days? Now we're lucky if they sling a little packet of peanuts and a little can of Coke at you, or they give you anything. Oh, well. And I'm glad we got to know that at least. Yeah, we used to, one of the best flights I ever had in my life was actually in coach, but it was Virgin Atlantic. This was 1985. It was my first trip to Europe. And it was a very spontaneous thing. I had a friend from England who was going back to visit his family, and he was after me. Come on, come with me, and put it on your credit card. Back when we used to think like that. Oh, I put it on the plastic, so it's not real money. Yeah, I was a kid then. But anyway, it was a spur of the moment thing. He said, you can get standby flights all the time. This is when I was living in Richmond, Virginia. We took a flight up to Newark, New Jersey. And also in the days before all this ridiculous security and everything you have to go through, we walked up to the desk, asked for a standby ticket. And they said, oh, well, yes, we have a flight leaving for London in 30 minutes. And it's $125. Yes, I flew to London for $125, and it was Virgin Atlantic. And I remember they served the most incredible meals, like course after course after course. They had a little 3-piece combo band on the plane performing, nice, big, roomy seats, and, like the old days, blankets, pillows, magazines. It felt like first class. It was just incredible. Well, the only downside was when we hit some really bad turbulence somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean. And it was after the meals had been served. So we're going up and down. I thought, is this how I'm going to die? We're going to break apart over the Atlantic Ocean. But anyway, that's a memory I have there. Never got frisked, just asked a few questions, thank God. Lucky you, Whimsy. Oh, Whimsy, nobody's looking forward to the fall more than me. I've said this on the show before. I'm not a fan of hot weather. Not at all. I mean, I love summer when I was a kid, summer vacation and all that. But now I just crave when it gets cold enough to actually wear sweaters, scarves, hot chocolate, take walks in the brisk, cool air, wintertime. I love that. I thrive on it. I do much better in cold weather. Let's see. Pam, the energy in American airports is freaking intense. I was so irritated with the piss poor treatment. Quite different from Canada. I didn't expect such energetic difference. And of course, and Pam is a very gifted psychic, intuitive, and anybody's going to know about energy exchanges differences. You would know it. Now, I will tell you this, Pam, I kind of had a reverse experience. Now, I've had this, not to say I haven't had some crappy experiences in American airports here, but I have to say the worst I was ever treated in an airport was in Toronto. I remember this. It was a flight to Europe, and it was a connecting flight. We flew from LA into Toronto, and then from there it was going to go to London. And we arrived there like 6 a.m. And the woman behind the counter she wasn't just rude, she was mean. She was so nasty and so mean. And I even said to her, you don't have to be so rude. She goes, I'm not being rude. You're being rude. Okay. Anyway, fam, that was my experience with a Canadian airport, but that's not to generalize, of course. I'm sure what you're saying is very, very true. Oh, Ward, you were saying that's how Miss Southern's back got broken on stage with the prop falling on it. Oh, dear God. So this happened in front of an audience? You remind me, forgive me for going on a tangent here, but the whole point of the show is I talk about show business stories. It was Mary Martin when she was doing Peter Pan on Broadway. And of course, she had to fly on the wires, and there was a man overhead operating all this, kind of, I guess, the equivalence of a puppeteer or whatever he was called. And he had to, of course, swing her back and forth, and he wasn't paying attention, and he slammed her into a wall on the set, and I think she broke her arm. Yeah, and this was to the horror of the audience who witnessed this. And it was after the show, or I don't know if she had to take time to recover or what, but she came back and they said, well, do you want us to fire this man? And she said, no, because I know he's never going to let that happen again. And she had a good point there. So that was the story, but I didn't know that happened to Ann Southern on a stage. Let me see here. When it's legal here in New York, Chuck, talking about weed. It's legal. Well, if that's the case, it's legal here too in California. I don't know what you meant when you said it's legal. Let's see here. I started reading these move on me. Let's see. Rosemary, what an original. 90 years on stage. Yes, she was amazing. I got to meet her twice. She was a sweet woman. Very gracious, very good to her fans. And what was cool, when I got Dick Van Dyke to sign my book, it was his autobiography. She was there, and also, I'd say the kid. I mean, it was like well into his 50s at the time. It was Larry Matthews, who played Little Richie on the show. He was there. So I got all three to sign my book. And I even told this story. And, I used to worry about telling it because I didn't want to violate Dick Van Dyke's privacy. But I've told it enough times. But Dick, because I was standing right there with Rosemary's wheelchair right over her, I couldn't help but overhear their conversation. There was no way I couldn't. And they were having a very private conversation because he had just seen Mary Tyler Moore 2 days earlier. And he called her Rosie. And he goes, Rosie, I'm really worried about Mary. It's not good. It's not good. She's going blind. She's almost deaf. She can't stand or walk anymore. And he almost had tears in his eyes. He said, Rosie, I don't think she's going to be with us much longer. Anyway, I was standing there hearing that. I was like, oh my God, Dick Van Dyke talking about Mary Tyler Moore to Rosemary. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't be listening to this. But anyway, that's what happened. A Star Trek face. To the Grabber magazines on planes. I miss that. Yeah, I miss that too. But I tell you, what is a godsend on a plane are iPads. Because you can load those things with movies, TV shows, you can have magazines, books on there. And speaking for myself, because my two great passions are writing and drawing, give me a ballpoint pen and a spiral bound notebook, I'm fine. I can keep myself entertained for many hours like that. So that's my thing. But I also love the iPad. But that was nice when they would actually have a nice selection of magazines for you and everything. I also miss the pillows and the blankets. Wow, Pam, you got to fly in a Hercules and your dad was in the military. I bet that's quite a memory. Lots of leg room. Yeah, I was just saying earlier in the show, that's something we don't have much on planes. Those of us who are taller, like myself, it's not too pleasant. And they just seem to be cramming more and more seats on a plane and decreasing the amount of room. I'm surprised they're not strapping people in the luggage compartment now. Uh, do the leaves change in LA? For the most part, no. They often turn brown. No, there are some areas here where we do have assortments of trees that do change colors and so forth, but not enough for my liking. It seems to be more of the type that just turn brown or they stay green. And I'm from the East Coast, so my biological clock is my biological calendar. Maybe that's what I should call it. It's every autumn. I just intuitively miss the seasonal change. I miss the leaves changing. I miss the cooler, crisp air. I I've come to realize that fall is probably my favorite season. Look where I live, Southern California, where it's basically summer for 9 or 10 months. Endless summer. What is that? Pam said Canadians can be total arse hats, but we are nice until we aren't. Well, my experience with you, Pam, you're wonderful. You're as sweet as can be. No, most Canadians I've known have been nice, but yes, that woman behind the counter at the airport was not. She was having a bad morning. Maybe she hadn't had her coffee yet. Uh, um, yeah, poor JR's mother. Yeah, she was very proud of that in her final years. That her final years were during the peak years of sorry to say Dynasty Dallas, and of course her son Larry Hagman playing J.R. Ewing. Those of us who are old remember the 80s, remember how iconic J.R. Ewing was on there. So she was proud of that. She would sometimes even introduce her to the audience. I'm JR's mother. In fact, I saw a cute little thing on YouTube where Larry Hagman and his mother sang together. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was just adorable to see them together and just see how loving they were with each other. And he was surprisingly good. But Mary Martin was great. As we know with YouTube, it's just this whole mixed bag of things. You can't help but just have stuff pop up. No, it wasn't YouTube. It was Instagram, which is also just a mixed bag. You have all these different videos pop up and things. And last night I had a thing from 1982 pop up, Mary Martin and Ethel Merman singing together. And it was fun. They were doing anything you can do, I can do better. Yes, you can. No, you can't. And it was adorable. I loved it. I loved it. I think I told the story on here. I'm not going to go get it now, but on my wall, I have the album cover for the Ethel Merman disco album that Ethel Merman autographed to me back in 1980 in Richmond, Virginia, when I was a college student, and she was performing with the Richmond Pops. And I knew who she was. I got it. This was a Broadway icon, and it was a sea of gray heads in the audience. I was probably the only kid there. Look, no, I would fit in quite well, but anyway, I think she appreciated having a younger person in the audience, and she happily autographed it to me, and it's still framed on my wall. The record itself melted, and that was when I moved out to California in 1985 and had every belonging in the world in the back of a U-Haul truck, and it was when I hit the New Mexico, Arizona desert and crossing into California around Needles, that area. And it was in August, in the desert in August. So anyway, all my vinyl records melted. So I have just the cover. That's okay. Let's see what else we hear. Mama likes me talking to her about the countryside for the leaf changes in the autumn. Yeah, I do too. I get very nostalgic for it. 1 year in the fall, I went back to my home state of Virginia. There's a big wine tasting industry in Virginia that did not exist when I lived there in the 80s. Lots of wineries. And my sister and I just, we were driving to wine tasting. Boy, isn't that a great combination? But we were going through all these lovely country roads, and it was autumn and the leaves were changing. It was just really beautiful. And Virginia was having an Indian summer at the time. And I'm sure you know the term Indian summer, where it's still nice and warm, but not hot, just pleasant. and warm, and the leaves are changing. It was just beautiful. Let's see, we took a drive in the autumn leaves. It was beautiful. Also back in Virginia, we had the Shenandoah Drive, and it was, oh God, it was just beautiful. Beautiful drive through the mountains and see all the trees changing. And then usually, I think the peak week was like the last week of September, first week of October. My mom and dad, at the time, I used to complain about, I don't want to go watch this. I don't watch this. Mom and dad would say, shut up, get in the car. And so we would go and do that. Let's see here. Did Miss Martin ever introduce herself as Jeannie Masters' mom? I'm not aware of that one. I don't think she did. I know Larry Hagman was not too happy about that show. Barbara Eden, I've met her. I think I've shown it here on the show, or at least I've done videos where I've held up my genie bottle, my replica genie bottle that Barbara Eden autographed to me. She signed it, Barbara Eden, scribed it to me, and then wrote genie in quotation marks underneath that. So that's like a treasure for me. But I read her autobiography, and she said Larry Hagman was just extraordinarily difficult doing the show. He was not happy. He felt that doing television was beneath him. He hated doing the show. And there was one time, and this is in her book, she said he got drunk or disgruntled or something and urinated over the entire set. The living room set of the show, the sofa and everything. Yeah, urinated all over everything. And the producers wanted to fire him. And Barbara Eden had to fight on his behalf to keep his job. And her reasoning was, well, everybody said, oh, you have such a great heart, how you took care of him. She said, no, it wasn't my great heart. It was my great brain. I knew he was perfect for that role. He and I had incredible chemistry, and it would destroy the show if he were replaced. So I had to fight for him. Anyway, that was the story there. So maybe that's why Mary Martin didn't bring that up. She knew it was kind of a sore spot for her son. Now, I think he was very proud of Dallas and JR, because he got to be a star in his own right. He was always second banana to Barbara Eden on the other show. Oh yeah, Miss Martin went to Ward Belmont. Minnie Pearl's alma mater. Oh my God, Minnie Pearl. Howdy. She was something. I haven't thought about Minnie Pearl in years. The woman got so much mileage out of that hat with the little dangling price tag that said $1.98. That was her trademark. And I understand, well, her real name, let me see, was Sarah Buchanan. I remember that. And in real life, she was a very refined woman. She lived in a beautifully decorated home. She was known for throwing very elegant dinner parties. Well, in fact, Joan Rivers was like that. Joan Rivers in real life was extremely refined and dressed well and threw very formal dinner parties and things. So, often celebrities are different from their image. I can tell you when I used to work in West Hollywood in the health industry, I met many, many, many celebrities. And I would find often the biggest surprises to me were comedians, how different their private persona was from their public. Like coming to mind, Will Ferrell, very, very outrageous. If you've ever seen, if you've seen him in his movies and on stage, in person, extremely low-key, very polite. Like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am. Very old-fashioned, proper manners, dignified. That's how he was. And I used to see that with others. I used to see that with Russell Brand. But anyway, I should get back to comments here. And then it's probably, oh my God, I have been on for over an hour now. I'm going to have to sign off soon, but let's see here. They have good wine. Biltmore in Asheville, North Carolina. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know, but Virginia and North Carolina being so close, I could see where the wine industry would be there also, because geographically it's so similar. The climate, the soil, the lateral, is it the longitude or the latitude? I'm blanking, but I think it's the latitude, the position on the planet. It's very favorable for that. And I understand the wine industry originally started in Virginia with Thomas Jefferson and Monticello, of course, in Charlottesville. And he had spent time in Paris And he reasoned because the climate, the soil, the latitude was so similar, grapes in France would also grow in Virginia. And he was right. And he'd had a successful winery at Monticello, and then it fell away. And then it was only in the 1980s people decided to revive that. So maybe that is in North Carolina. I should check into that. Oh yeah, the Blue Ridge Parkway. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, it is fantastic. Ever in Virginia in the fall, it is a must do. Let's see here. I'm looking at the comments here because it's Eden telling that Miss Eden saved Mr. Hagman's job. Yes, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, she definitely saved his job. I think she even issued an ultimatum. He goes, I go. It was like that. She was very adamant that, and she was right. If you watch the show, they had incredible chemistry for each other. Larry Hagman may have hated doing that show, but he was good. He was just right for that role. In fact, what killed that show is the same thing that's killed other shows, like Moonlighting. You can look back on almost any television series where you've got these romantic adversary. I don't know. That's not the right word, adversary, but where it's a give and take, like where it's unconsummated love. There's a sexual tension that's never realized. And when they could sustain that for several seasons, the show did well. But like the last season of I Dream of Jeannie, Jeannie and Major Nelson got married. Moonlighting, they finally consummated their relationship, and the ratings just died. And both shows like that got quickly canceled. But people don't seem to learn the lesson from that. Let's see. What else here? Any other comments here? President Jefferson brought an Italian vintage to Thomas Jefferson brought an Italian vintage to Monticello, who became Earl Hamner Jr.'s ancestor. I didn't know that. Interesting. I'd like to have met Earl Hamner. I was a fan of the Waltons. A lot of people put that show down. It's some reason it has this image of being too saccharine, goody two shoes. No, you watch the Waltons. It was very well written, and it was extremely well acted. A number of those actors won multiple Emmys for their roles. And anyway, I was always proud of that when I was a kid watching the show, because I was, of course, from Virginia also. And I knew the area where the show was set. I was very proud of that. And I always loved the John Boy character, because he wanted to be a writer, and he dreamt of going to New York, going off and being successful in the world. And that was very much me when I was that age. So I really identified with John Boy. And I've also told this, again, living in Hollywood, I became friends with Ellen Corby, who played Grandma Walton, who won 3 well-deserved Emmys for that role. Brilliant actress. And of course, when I knew her, she was still dealing with the effects of her stroke. She had a stroke about 4 or 5 seasons into the show, and she pretty much had to leave the show. She came back for a while. They wrote her stroke into the series where Grandma Walton couldn't talk too much and all, but I think she had to leave altogether. Well, Ellen never fully recovered from the stroke. She still had limitation with how she could speak. She still had a walker, but she was so expressive. She communicated beautifully, and it's no secret now. I'm not outing Ellen Corby. This is well known now. She was lesbian, and she had a lover named Stella. They lived together in West Hollywood. I knew them both, loved them. And Stella basically acted as Ellen's voice. She communicated for Ellen, and I used to hear the best stories, and I was so thrilled. Me knowing Grandma Walton. She became my friend. Let's see, what else here? Judy Norton, played Mary Ellen. She said she never saw Mr. Hamner lose his temper or be less than polite. Yeah, he always impressed me as a real Southern gentleman. Yeah, like Carol Burnett. And I've met that lady 3 times. I can tell you, incredible, real deal. a really good person. I mean, I said this about Carol Burnett, and I said this about Jimmy Carter. And I'm glad I'm bringing this up because he's going to be 100 years old tomorrow. God bless you, Jimmy Carter. I've met them both. And I have said this. I have twice felt that I was in the presence of really great souls. I mean, I could just feel it. I mean, the energy coming off of them, the goodness looking into their eyes. And like, I spent more time with Carol Burnett talking to her, but I told that story how she held my hands and put her hand on her heart and cried. And I told her what she had meant to me. And she said, "You have honored me. You have honored me." That's Carol Burnett. That's who she is. And Jimmy Carter was at a book signing. And these book signings, you have maybe 30 to 60 seconds with the person. But I looked him in the eye and I said, "Sir, I admire you deeply." And he really listened intently, and he looked deep in my eyes. He had these really clear, beautiful blue eyes. And he really listened, and he looked deep in my eyes. He said, "Thank you. I really appreciate that." Really meant it, really spoke to me from the heart. And of course, I have my book with Jimmy Carter's signature in it. Oh yeah, I wish you could have met Miss Corby. She was a dear. Oh, how I loved her. Somewhere, I'm embarrassed to say somewhere because it's packed away in a box in a closet, and I've got to find it. But she autographed an 8x10 picture for me, and I didn't even ask her, because I usually don't think to do that, because I'm very respectful of celebrities, not to act too much like an overeager fan. She came to me one day and got the picture out of her bag and made a point of writing it to me personally in my presence. It was a picture of her as Grandma Walton. Oh, that was so sweet. And I remember Ellen said to me, well, through Stella, of course, that she got bags of fan mail from all over the world. And this was like in the 1990s, like more than 20 years after the Waltons. And she was still getting fan mail from all over the world. And Stella was telling me Ellen sometimes would be crying because of her limitations with her hand, because of stroke. It was really difficult for her to answer all of that fan mail, but she made a point of handwriting everybody back. That mattered to her, but it was very hard, very hard. But that's who Ellen Corby was. It's already October 1st in Europe. So President Carter already is a century old. Oh, that's beautiful. Whimsy. We should mention something about President Carter tomorrow on the show. I just think that's amazing. I know I'm going to go in a moment because I've got to meet someone at 6:30, 6:18. I have fun with you, all of you. You're my friends. Thank you for being here. But Jimmy Carter said he wanted to live long enough to cast his vote for Kamala Harris. So I hope that they at least get an early ballot to him or something. Well, I hope the man will be around long enough to fulfill that final wish. And it'd be lovely to have him around even longer. But, I think he wants to be with Rosalind. That she was his soulmate. They were married, well over 70 years. I forget the exact number. And, I read Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue's book about the secrets to a happy marriage, where it was their 40th wedding anniversary. So they interviewed 40 famous couples, like, what's your secret to hold your marriage together? What works? And they found there was no common denominator. Everybody just had their own story. But they interviewed Rosalind and Jimmy Carter, and they were both just so captivated by how in love they still were, how they were still holding hands, and they were very much a team. Truly a team. Like when Jimmy had his peanut farm, it was Rosalind who took care of the bookkeeping, and she managed a lot of the business. They were very, very much equals, very much partners. In fact, when President Carter I don't think he can do it now at his age, but when he was there with Habitats for Humanity, where they were building houses, and he'd be out there on a ladder, nailing boards and sawing and just doing. And Rosalind was out there with him. And some interviewer said, "Oh, do you hold the ladder for President Carter?" And she said, "No, sometimes he holds the ladder for me, and I hammer the nails." So I think he wants to be with her soon. Oh, and gosh, I remember. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember Miss Lillian, Ms. Lillian, M-I-Z, Ms. Lillian. Oh, she was wonderful. I remember she became quite a celebrity in her own right. She used to appear on a lot of talk shows and guest on series. And in fact, Lucille Ball did a special in the 70s. I got to go soon. I didn't even tell a Lucy story. So this is a mini Lucy story. She did a special in the late 70s called Lucy Meets the President. And it was this fictitious story about President Carter coming to stay in her home. But anyway, the end of the show, they had a tape segment where it was Ms. Lillian on the phone going, "Is this Miss Lucy? Is this Miss Lucy? I'm so sorry, but my son's not going to be able to come, but I'd like to come and visit you." It was something cute like that. But I remember, "Miss Lucy, this is Ms. Lillian." Yeah, they worked together building homes well into their 90s. Just I consider Jimmy Carter right up there with Eleanor Roosevelt. Just a great, great man. That's why when I met him, I just said, "I really, really admire you and respect you." Well, anyway, it is 6:22. I have to go, but I thank you all for being here with me. It means so much. And I love you. I just love you for joining me, and I appreciate it. And I even appreciate having my dear Whimsy here with me too, and Pam and Ward and all of you. Thank you. I will be here next week, same time, same place. And yes, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Chuck's Captivating Chat. Just thank you so much, and I'll do my best to try to get some more videos up on my channel. And Pam and I are working on something interesting. I mentioned that. We'll reveal more later. Okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone, and see you next week. Goodbye.